After the release of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, the Halloween franchise would lay dormant for about 9 years, until Blumhouse picked up the rights to the Halloween franchise and decided to do a direct sequel to the original 1978 Halloween film. Would that be a good sequel, or did they miss the mark? Well, today we're going to talk about it, so let's get spooky. Greetings everyone, my name is Nightshade, this is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today we're looking at Halloween, released in 2018. And just when I thought the Halloween franchise couldn't get any dumber, they do something like this, and totally redeem themselves. And if any of you guys know that reference, I hope your back's doing okay. But seriously, this is one of my all-time favorite Halloween sequels. And it's not just because of the movie itself, it's literally everything that surrounded the movie as well. Like, that was a great time to be a horror fan. However, you know, whenever we first got the news that we were getting yet another Halloween sequel, I was not the most excited for it. And I mean, honestly, can you blame me? Like, my generation got H2O, we got Halloween Resurrection, and Rob Zombie's 2 films, and those, in my opinion, are not the best. However, if you love those films, you know, more power to you. I'm glad that you enjoy them. They are simply not my cup of tea. So whenever they announced that there was going to be yet another Halloween film, you know, I was a little skeptical at first. And then whenever we got the first image of what Michael Myers was going to look like, I was like, all right, well, you know, the mask is cool. And then we got the teaser trailer and I was like, all right, I'm in. Sold. This is gonna be great. And then, you know, Trick or Treat Studios announced that they were working with movie masters like the Master Molds to create the mass-produced Michael Myers mask, so they would be as accurate as any other Michael Myers mask would ever be. And then I was pumped about that because, you know, I'm a mask collector. That's what this channel started off as. And yeah, so you know, seeing everybody, you know, painstakingly recreate the Michael Myers 2018 mask, that got me hyped as hell. So whenever I went to go to the theaters to check this out, you know, I wasn't really asking for much. I just wanted a decent Michael Myers, a decent story, and some decent kills, and if they would have given me that, I would have been happy with it. And I got all of that in the best ways. Like, this is one of the only horror films that I went like 4 or 5 times to see in the theater. Like, I was super pumped. And that gets me super pumped about this review, so let's go ahead and get into it. So for this review, I'm going to break it down into 2 categories, the positives and the negatives. And then whenever we're done, I'm going to give this a score out of 10, and then we will end the video. But before we get into the review, I just want to say that, you know, these are just my opinions. You don't have to agree with anything that I say in this video, and that's perfectly fine. Sound off in the comments below why you liked it or did not like it. I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts on this film are. There's absolutely no need to get hostile. I'm just a goober on the internet. My opinions mean jack and shit. Fuck and all, if you will. So if I score this movie differently than you would, there's no need to get uppity about it. We're just some homies hanging out talking about horror, and it's fine. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get this thing started with So I do love the fact that this story takes place 40 years after the original 1978 John Carpenter's Halloween does, and it's just a direct sequel to that, and everything in between. It's not part of this continuity, and, you know, it gives them a chance to start fresh. And 40 years after the night he came home, Michael Myers is yet again unleashed onto Haddonfield. And he is very hungry for blood in this film, but more on that later. And we get Laurie Strode, who is a doomsday prepper type, but her doomsday is more prepping for whenever Michael Myers escapes. And she once again comes face to face with the Shape. So, you know, the story in this is pretty much just going back to basics, and you know what? This is one of the best versions of going back to basics. So the story, gonna get a thumbs up from me. Moving right along, we have... So I do enjoy the majority of the characters in this film. I don't think anybody stands out as uber annoying. I do like the fact that, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, is a much more broken character in this film. Like, she's been through some shit. Like, H2O definitely dabbled with that aspect of Laurie Strode, but I think this one is the better version of broken Laurie Strode. Because in H2O, you know, Laurie Strode was running from her problems, running from the past, and in Halloween 2018, Laurie Strode is ready to take on her problems head on. Like, if Michael Myers ever escapes, she's ready for him. And I genuinely love that aspect of this version of Laurie Strode. I think it is one of the best Laurie Strodes that we've gotten since the original. I think Allison is also a really good character. She had a potential to be something completely badass that, you know, gets squandered in later films. But, you know, overall, I think Allison is a good final girl in this film. And, you know, Allison's mom, Karen, which is Laurie Strode's daughter, she seems kind of flat with, like, no personality in this, but, you know, it doesn't bother me too much. And I've also seen a lot of people complain about her husband, Ray, in this because he's just kind of like a wimp. And honestly, to defend Ray here, it makes sense. Like, Laurie Strode has been training Karen to be an ultimate badass survivalist type of person, so, you know, it makes sense that she would want somebody that's more sensitive and not as macho and, you know, not what Laurie Strode was the entirety of Karen's life. So, like, it makes sense to me that she would go for a softer, more sensitive type of man. So, yeah, because of that, Ray doesn't bother me at all. It makes sense to me. And, you know, the cast of teenagers in this film, the high school students, I think they're all really believable as high school students. You know, they acted like how I did in high school and shit. So, like, all the characters in this film are, you know, pretty top-notch, some of the best in the franchise. Like, Karen is the most, you know, out of place and maybe even Sartain towards the end, but other than those two, the majority of the characters in this film, I like them. I like them. Though I do find it weird that Allison calls Laurie grandmother instead of like grandma. That's kind of weird. Like, that would make more sense if she had like a British accent or something like that, like a posh British accent, not like, you know, normal Brits. Like, even most British people don't call their grandmother grandmother. They call them their gran or their nan or something like that. So yeah, that always kind of bugged me, but it's a little tidbit, little nitpicky kind of thing. But yeah, other than those little tiny little gripes that I have, all the characters in this film are great. And you know, speaking of characters, we need to move on to our next positive, which is Michael motherfucking Myers is back, and he is back with a vengeance. This go around, Michael Myers is portrayed by one James Jude Courtney, and he knocked it out of the fucking park. Like, James Jude Courtney is one of the best, if not the best, Michael Myers interpretations of all time. Like, he feels like the best interpretations of Michael Myers all rolled up into one character. Like, there's moments where you can definitely feel like a Nick Castle kind of vibe, and I know Nick Castle is in this for like one scene, so like that's not gonna count here. But, you know, there's you know, Nick Castle in his movements. There's also Dick Warlock in his movements. He's got the brutality of George P. Wilbur and Tyler Mane kind of all wrapped up into one. But yeah, James Jude Courtney takes everything that was cool about Michael Myers and nailed it. Like, he nailed it flawlessly. This is one of the best interpretations of Michael Myers that we've gotten, and he is one of the best Michael Myers of all time, and I will die on that hill because he's awesome. And speaking of Michael Myers, we move on to our next positive, which is this is, hands down, one of the best masks in the franchise. This mask was created by Christopher Nelson, who is a huge Michael Myers fan, and it really shows in his work. This is an original sculpt that does capture the 1978 visage of the shape while also being its own original thing. And I just love the way that this mask looks. All the weathering, all the yellowing, all the cracks, and all the little micro details throughout. I think this is a phenomenal mask. And speaking of masks, this was done by my buddy DKnight333, who is here on YouTube. If you guys are in the market for one, he does amazing rehauls at amazing prices. And that's not sponsored. He doesn't know I'm saying that. He doesn't know I'm giving him any compliments in this video. And, you know, I just think he does great work at a reasonable price. So if you are in the market for a Halloween 2018, Kills and Ends, and even a 78, he does phenomenal work on those, and I would recommend checking him out. Yeah, the Halloween 2018 mask, the H40 mask, whatever you want to call it, one of the best of all time, in my opinion. It's going to be ranked super high in my mask review series whenever we finish out reviewing the rest of the Halloween franchise. And whatever they do with the franchise going forward, it's kind of up in the air right now. I would love to see Christopher Nelson return and do his own take on the Michael Myers mask for a future Michael Myers project, I think that would be phenomenal because he is one of the best to do it. And moving right along, we have... In this film, we get some of the best kills. Like, even some of the off-camera kills are just absolutely brutal. Like, Officer Francis with his head cut off and carved into a jack-o'-lantern, that is fucking awesome. And the mechanic that had his face bashed in and his teeth ripped out, that is also fucking amazing. And Dr. Sartain getting his head stomped in like a fucking watermelon.
Say something.
Mwah! Beautiful. And I know kills aren't everything, but whenever we get some good kills, I'm always going to rank that shit as a positive. So yeah, this definitely had to go on the positive for this one. So moving right along, we have... I love the fact that they are no longer siblings in this film. I think that is great. Well, you know, the first time that I heard that they weren't going to be related anymore, I got giddy as hell. Like, it was during the Rob Zombie Halloween era that I felt like, you know, maybe the sibling thing was holding off Myers as a character. And that's just from my personal opinion for those films. And then, you know, hindsight being what it is, seeing that, you know, like, a lot of these films would be scarier if Michael Myers just had no purpose and was killing simply because he wants to. And a couple years later, Halloween 2018 proved exactly that. And it makes Michael 10 times scarier to have no reason. He's just running around like a shark that smells blood in the water. But rather than having a specific target, he just comes and kills as he pleases. No motivation, no reasons, just pure, unadulterated evil. And I absolutely fucking love that. And now on to our next positive, which is... This is one of the most beautifully shot films in the entire franchise. All the cinematic movements, all the angles, everything captured perfectly. And to add to the cinematography, the lighting is also absolutely phenomenal in this film. Like, that paired with the cinematography, it kind of melds it into this nice, beautiful work of art. Especially the scene where they did the long one take, that was, love that scene. But yeah, the cinematography in this is some of the best that we've seen in cinema. Like, it's phenomenally shot, and definitely had to go on my positives list. And next up on the positives, we have... easily one of the best scores, if not the best score in the entire franchise. And I mean, even in all of horror, this is definitely in my top 3. Easily, hands down, no problem. I listen to the score of this film pretty frequently, like especially when I'm working or, you know, doing something that doesn't require a whole lot of brain power, and I can just listen to music and enjoy the score for what it is, because it is a beautiful, beautiful score. Like, The Shape Hunts Allison, fucking beautiful. It's a fucking masterpiece. But yeah, the score here is like one of the best in horror of all time. Like, it's hands down, I love it. It's all composed very well, and yeah, I just love it with all of my heart. So that being said, let's move on to our next positive, which is... I fucking love the showdown between Michael Myers and Laurie in this film, even more so than the showdown with Michael and Laurie in Halloween H2O. I know I've been making a lot of those comparisons, but hear me out. Halloween H2O, you know, Laurie is a school teacher, and she's in like the witness protection program, hiding in California, and you know, whenever she's finally confronting Michael, she whoops his ass. In this one, however, Laurie is prepared to be taking on Michael Myers. She is ready and willing to go, and she struggles. And boy, does she struggle with Michael Myers in this film, and I fucking love that aspect, because it really shows you how much of a threat Michael Myers is in this film. And that's not to take anything away from Laurie Strode in this, because, like, you know, it's good that she struggles against Michael Myers. It makes her feel more heroic, if that makes any sense. I am a firm believer that your protagonist is only as good as your antagonist, and if you don't have a good antagonist, then your hero doesn't really seem that great. And just to prove a point, you know, like in H2O, we'll go back to H2O real quick. You know, Laurie was an alcoholic, a scared alcoholic that was hiding from Michael Myers, and she was still able to beat his ass with hardly any issue at all, which in turn makes Michael Myers seem like a bit of a bitch, and for lack of better words, but you know, it doesn't make him seem like this all-encompassing, all-imposing threat, and just makes him seem like a punching bag if you know he's coming. And you know, it feels disrespectful to Michael Myers as a character, which doesn't give much credibility to Laurie in Halloween H2O. It's not all triumphant. It was, oh, you know, just a regular scuffle, and that was fine. However, in Halloween 2018, you know, Laurie struggled to take on the Shape. Like, they had a pretty big scuffle. It took multiple people to take Michael Myers down, and that actually feels like an achievement. It's like he's an Elden Ring boss that you can't beat and are having a hard time, and whenever you finally get him, it's just like, I did it! Fuck Elden Ring, those games are hard as shit. I love the way that this film ends. I love the fact that it took 3 people to take down the Shape, but they got him. It just feels like a more triumphant victory that way, that Michael Myers was hard as fuck to get into the basement, but they did it. And so, like, whenever you finally breathe that sigh of relief, you know, it feels earned. We have one more small little positive before we move on to the negatives, and that is there are so many nods to the franchise throughout. Like, you can tell this was made by fans for fans, and you can feel the love that went into making this movie. I'm not gonna go into like great detail about all of the Easter eggs in this film. There's plenty of channels here on YouTube that have already done that, so I mean, feel free to check those out. But there is a lot of nods to a lot of sequels past that they, you know, decided to give a shout out to, and, you know, respect. So that's it for the positives. Now we move on to so this is both dialogue and exposition. It kind of marries up with each other, but it feels to me that David Gordon Green doesn't really trust the audience to figure it out. He just kind of spells everything out through clunky dialogue, and I'm not a huge fan of that at all. It's a lot less egregious in this film, but I still notice it, but it becomes way more prominent in the sequels that follow. Like, we the audience knew that Sartain was framed to be the new Loomis, but, you know, David Gordon Green could not let that be up to interpretation, so he has a clunky exposition line that says,
"You're the new Loomis."
like, we couldn't have fucking pieced that together. Like, you really think the audience is that dumb? Like, you really think we're that stupid? There's a lot of this clunky exposition throughout this film and throughout the rest of the trilogy, and it kind of irks me. Like, you know, whenever Karen explains how she was raised, or like when Sartain explains that, you know, Deputy Hawkins was the first arriver on the scene, like Laurie wouldn't fucking know that. And as obsessed as Laurie is with Michael Myers after that night, it's not like something she wouldn't have figured out. Like, there's a better way to exposit in your film, and this is not it. And that is it for this review. I truly enjoy this film. I had a great time watching it. I still have a great time watching it. I had a great time rewatching it for this review, and yeah, solid film. I truly do enjoy it. It's one of my favorite in the franchise. It's one of the best for me. I'm gonna give this film a solid 9 out of 10. I fucking love it. So let me know in the comments below how you feel about this movie. I know not everybody loves it as much as I do, and you know, there's people that just straight up hate this movie, and that's fair. You know, like, we all have differing opinions, and that's okay. And if you're one of the people that hated this film, sound off in the comments below. What about this movie do you not like? I am curious to read your review in the comments below. So that's just gonna about do it for me. If you liked the video, let me know by leaving me a like. Comment down below what you want to see on the channel next. I will do my best to accommodate. I really will. And until next time, my name is Nightshade. This has been The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky, my friends. Well, hello, Spooky Squad. This is your time to shine, because you watch these videos all the way through. I want to make sure that you guys are getting your money's worth, even though this is a free channel. So I'm almost all the way through the Halloween franchise, and I want to know, what do you want to see next? Comment down below a movie that you want to see me review with the hashtag Spooky Squad. Whenever I see that Spooky Squad, it's going at the top of my list. And also, make sure it's horror. I'm not going to review, like, Gone with the Wind or anything. Like, I do have a couple one-offs that I have planned already, but I'm going to take all of the Spooky Squad comments, put them on my list of things to watch them, and review them. With that being said, I'm off to film the Halloween Kills review. So sound off what you want to see on the channel. Make sure it says hashtag Spooky Squad. It goes to the top of my list. And thank you very much for watching these videos all the way through. It helps me out immensely. All right, I'll see you guys on Friday. Peace.